All right. So, hello, everybody. This is going to be basically Fantasy NBA today. And we'll try to jam in some questions at the conclusion of the show. So you are effectively here coming behind the curtain. And yeah, so if you got any questions, throw them in the chat room. They are here on YouTube. I don't promise to get to all of them. I have a doctor's appointment for our younger one. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Just an appointment. But that also means that I got to run a little fast and I got to run a little early. And so we'll just try to mash in kind of whatever we can on that front. So to that end, we're just going to jump on in, and this is going to function a lot like a recorded podcast. So let's have a little fun with that. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. I am your host, Dan Besbris, and this, of course, is a Sports Ethos presentation. This is a live edition of the pod. Those of you watching on the YouTubes, you can find me on Twitter at Dan Besbris. We do, as I've said a million times before, a crap ton of stuff on social media that is simply faster than waiting for my next YouTube video or waiting for my next recorded podcast. And I want you guys to keep listening to those. Good Lord. But also we need to do stuff in between. So do follow me on Twitter. You can follow the website at Ethos Fantasy BK, or just go to sportsethos.com. Check out the brand new and improved, relaunched for this season, free forums at sportsethos.com/community. It's totally free. You can put your questions in there. A lot of folks, you guys ask me a ton of stuff on social media. I can't keep track of it. Putting it in the forums, I can actually keep track of it. I get email alerts when that stuff happens. If I did that with Twitter, I would die. What we're going to do on today's show, no Aaron Bruski today. Very sorry. I know he's in the name of the YouTube video, but he is driving right now, so we can't put him on a video pod. That simply wouldn't be safe. So you got me solo. We're going to go through the Wednesday recap. It was a big card. It was a lot of fun. A lot of stuff went down. And then again, if we can do that in about a half an hour, then we'll have some time for questions at the conclusion. So again, pop those over in the chat room, which I guess is this direction for you guys. It's this direction for me. It's all very confusing. It's not a mirror. Yeah, I gotta go opposite, and I'll figure that out one day. No, I won't. Am I kidding? I'm not going to figure this stuff out. Again, it's at Dan Besbris on Twitter for those doing the recorded edition of today's podcast. But the beauty of for those of you that are watching on video, is that I can do something like this, and you can actually see what I'm going through as I go through it. So this is the Basketball Monster box score page. It's a great way to organize your stuff. And it also sorts by the relative power, the relative impact of a fantasy line. So that's kind of fun too. Let's start motoring our way through. Dallas and Orlando had a weird early game yesterday. Jalen Suggs sort of dodged two of his big issues. The turnovers were low. The free throw number was low, so he made them. So that didn't end up being a problem for him. And he actually had 2 3-pointers. So this was kind of good, Jalen Suggs. I still don't think that he's a must-start player in 9 category leagues. He has these massive, massive holes in his fantasy game. And it's why he's number 190 in 28 minutes of ball game. So it's not like it's an opportunity thing. He's a medium volume 60% foul shooter right now. He's over 3 turnovers a game. He's shooting 43% from the field. And yes, the steals are good, and 5 assists is decent, but it's just not enough to counterweight that other stuff. So I get it. There's a fun thing happening there, but it's a points league fun thing happening there. I thought the better stories from this ball game was that, one, Mo Bamba got 24 and a half minutes. If Bamba plays 24 minutes, he's very much a fantasy player. He hits threes, he gets rebounds, he blocks shots, and he did a little bit of that in this one. I'm calling Mo Bamba a speculative ad. If he doesn't get 22 minutes in the next ball game, meaning if he falls back to like 17 or 18, just drop him. You only need one game to see it, whether it's going to be a back and forth kind of thing or if it's a consistent thing. But if they're in a competitive ball game the next time out and Bamba plays 22 or more minutes again, he starts to lock himself in as someone you hang on to. So I'm recommending Bamba as a pickup. He's not the best pickup from the night. There were other names that we'll get to in a little bit, but he's certainly an interesting one, and his upside is terrific. We saw it last year, 50 range guy, and that was only like 25 minutes a ball game. Over on the Dallas side, Dwight Powell started. He had some foul stuff going on, but I also think it just sort of doesn't matter. Christian Wood was out. That's why Powell, they're moving bodies around. That's not necessarily why Powell was in the starting lineup, but it's why Maxi Kleber got 33 minutes off the bench. None of those guys really comes out to a fantasy value. If Powell could get 30 plus minutes, he would, but I just don't see that happening. It's never been a thing in Dallas, and there's no reason for it to change overnight just because Wood was out or, JaVale McGee simply isn't very good. I had a lot of folks on Twitter yelling at me about Josh Green. I don't see it yet. He's fine. He's a decent basketball player, but we're looking at fantasy here. And, Tim Hardaway Jr. was out he was back in there. He was dinged up, but Reggie Bullock started. He played his 26 minutes. There's just a log jam. There's just a lot going on there, and I don't see how there's enough for Josh Green to carve out a big enough role on a team where it's all Luka all the time. And then every once in a while, Spencer Dinwiddie has a good ball game like he did yesterday, which pushes Dinwiddie, by the way, back up and over the 100 mark. So back and forth we go with this. Will anyone besides Luka be inside the top 100? This game for Luka, by the way, the percentages were poor and dropped him down to number 5. So he's still scoring 35 points a game. He's still getting 2 steals a night. Luka also blocked 2 shots in this ball game. So, 2.7 defensive stats. This is, in 9-cat, still a sellable moment for Luka Doncic. And I think there is actually a chance he averages 35 points, 8 boards, and 8 assists over the course of the year. But 2 steals, no. 0.7 blocks, no. 50% from the field, no. And frankly, 3.2 turnovers might go up. He had 0 yesterday, and they lost because he couldn't shoot. If he doesn't carry them on offense, there's not a whole lot to like there. Portland beat Charlotte on the road. No Yusuf Nurkic and no Jeremy Grant. Justice Winslow started, but as we've said on a few shows recently, if a tree falls in the forest. The more interesting was Drew Eubanks. Temper our expectations a little bit. Eubanks is very much a points and rebounds guy. He got 3 blocks yesterday, but they came bing, bang, boom right in a row pretty much. He's not a terrible foul shooter. He missed 2 of his 4 yesterday, but that's not usually his big problem. The problem I saw here was that he didn't close the ball game. Portland went small down the stretch, and Eubanks only got 22 minutes. So there's no guarantee that in a competitive basketball game, Eubanks is going to get 28 minutes even when Nurk is out. And that's what you would want. If he's going to slot in there, you'd want him to get his usual 15 to 20 plus another 15 of Yusuf Nurkic's minutes. And he didn't. So do I add Drew Eubanks? Maybe. Nurk's thing is an adductor, a core issue. So I think there is actually a chance that he misses another game or 2. And if you're starved for rebounds and field goal percent, Eubanks actually does make sense. But in the will it, won't it situation, will he pan out as a guy that's an obvious super stream every time Nurkic is out? I think the answer is you're maybe looking more at a 60% of the time it works, 40% of the time it doesn't. And that's teetering on decent enough. They play the Pelicans tonight. If Nurkic missed the front end of a back-to-back, I've got to think he's missing the back end of it, but never know. Maybe he shows up and plays in this one. But the Pels are big and strong. So this is an opportunity perhaps to see more Eubanks, provided he doesn't get into foul trouble, because you've got to deal with Jonas Valanciunas. Larry Nance is questionable. If he's in there, he's a bigger dude. Obviously, Zion is a gigantic dude. Does that mean that Eubanks gets 26, 27? Maybe. Would I start him in a Roto Games Cap format? I don't think that I have the confidence for that right now. It's a possibility, but I'd probably squat on that one. Dennis Smith Jr., mega stream continues. 4 more steals for one of the league leaders in that department right now. And I would say somewhat quietly, too, because he's just been consistently good. He's number 64. He's 12 games in. We have a dozen games out of Dennis Smith Jr., and he's an early 6th round value. Yes, obviously, this has a lot to do with Terry Rozier and LaMelo Ball missing time. But with Gordon Hayward going down, Charlotte said, look, DSJ, you've been good enough. You just stick here. And perhaps he ends up being that, like, if 2 guys are out on Charlotte, he's the beneficiary. So hang on, keep streaming him until LaMelo Ball comes back. I think you can even stream him after Gordon Hayward comes back because there's, like, Hayward will see a lot of those minutes, but you'll still see Dennis Smith getting probably mid-20s. Once everybody's back, then you're kind of in trouble. There just sort of isn't room for him at that point. But right now there certainly is, and he's 5th in the NBA in steals per ball game. I believe he's 2nd in the league in total steals to this point. And he's been just a massive, massive win for fantasy teams because of it. So just keep streaming. Jalen McDaniels, I thought he'd be better with Gordon Hayward out. Turns out he wasn't. He's sort of a streamable guy that I think you can move on from. He's cooled off a little bit. He had this kind of heater run to start the year. Good Lord, Kelly Oubre doing so much more damage to your fantasy team than helping. There's this thing that happens with a guy, like, because he's scoring almost 18 points per ball game, and he's over a steal, and he's got 2.5 3-pointers. So you look in there like, oh, 3 good things. He doesn't pass. His field goal percent is atrocious. His free throw percent is atrocious. He's killing you in 3 categories right now, and that's why he's near number 160. He's not startable, and frankly, I don't even know that you need to hang on to him because, maybe some of that stuff comes around a little bit. Maybe the field goal ticks up to like 42. The free throw maybe gets into the low 70s. It's still just not enough. So I'll plant my flag in it. Screw it. You can move on from Kelly Oubre. Not in points leagues. Points leagues, like, keep hanging on there. But category leagues, he's just, like, he's not going to be that guy that he was very briefly in Phoenix, where there was enough other stuff besides just scoring in threes. Everything else is a disaster. We got to move a little bit quicker here, don't we? Nikola Jokic had awful foul trouble and still managed to put up a pretty damn sweet line. I mean, the obvious conclusion there is don't worry about it. He's still number 6 on a per-game basis, and it just doesn't really feel like he's done anything yet. That's pretty cool. KCP, start with confidence. He's been awesome. No one was talking about him for a long time. He's number 53 in 9 category leagues now. Here comes Jamal Murray. He's cooking. 18, 8, and 4, 3 steals. Perfect at the foul line. He's now coming on. Aaron Gordon actually was pretty good in this ballgame again. He's got those other fantasy problems that's going to keep him from being super successful, but he is inside the top 100 right now. So officially, all 5 Denver starters are startable. And Bones Highland is not far off now. He's had about 3 good ball games in a row. Roto, I'm probably not starting him head-to-head. He very much should be on rosters. So throw him on the ad list. That's like the 3rd one already. On the Indiana side, honestly, I don't even know what to do with Jalen Smith anymore. He played 6 first-half minutes, got benched for almost the entire thing. He did play a dozen second-half minutes and was better at that point, but it's kind of too little too late. He's going to get yanked around. We're seeing that now. Rick Carlisle has always done that with his younger players. If he's not good, he's not going to get to play. And today he wasn't good. Now, if Miles Turner gets traded, Isaiah Jackson gets a big bump, Smith gets a bump, but they've got all these other guys that they're just sort of dropping in out of the sky. Neesmith, Nembhard. They're not even playing Terry Taylor anymore. They're not even playing O'Shea Brissett, really. He got 12 minutes in this ballgame, but they've got guys that can just parachute out of the sky and take power forward minutes away. And it's a problem. Now, you're obviously hanging on to Isaiah Jackson because you saw what he can do in 17 and a half minutes yesterday. He was crazy. 17 and 10 with a block. Like, that's why. Because if Miles Turner gets moved, which you've got to believe he does, Jackson becomes a mondo beast immediately. With Jalen Smith, I think you glue him to your bench for now. But you can always ask yourself the question, would someone add this guy if I dropped him? And right now, I don't think that they would. I just don't. Like, he's been bad. I think he's 165, 170, something like that. Benedict Mathurin had a Bojan Bogdanovician line, 30 points on 6 3-pointers and basically nothing else. And as great as that looked, that was a positive in 2 fantasy categories yesterday, points and threes. And then, and field goal percent. Sorry, Benedict, I shorted you one. But negative in free throws, negative in turnovers, negative in blocks, negative in steals, negative in assists, negative in rebounds. Got to do more than 3 things. He's a guy you can get stuff for in a trade because he hit 6 3-pointers in a ball game and he's scoring 20 points a night, but he's 130. And the reason he's ranked 130 is because of all that other stuff. That's not to say he's not good. He's been awesome. He's probably been the most impressive rookie so far this year, but this is a fantasy show. Anywho, Boston, Malcolm Brogdon tweaked a hammy. Well, it was always a matter of time with him. I mean, we got 3 weeks out of Brogdon before he got hurt. That's a win. What I don't know, and because this was a blowout, so minutes were a little kooky regardless. What I don't know is there a direct beneficiary here yet? We couldn't see that from the results of this ball game. I would assume Derek White is the winner there. But I also don't really know for sure because Boston pulled White. He didn't start this ball game. Grant Williams did. They went a little bit bigger. So White was coming off the bench. Brogdon was also coming off the bench. And, Sam Hauser hit 6 threes. He played really well off the bench. A little bit of that was garbage time, but he played well overall. The only things that we know are happening is that Marcus Smart is going to start. Tatum, Brown, and Horford are going to start. Those 4 guys are pretty safe right now. I know Smart hasn't been that good this year, but he's relatively safe. And then beyond that, we need to know. So if they say, Brogdon's going to miss a week, great. In the next ball game, we track it. That's our data point game, which I've talked about a lot on this podcast. And for those watching on YouTube, maybe you haven't seen me talk about this particular thing. Early in the season, you don't need to dive in with a pickup, right? When somebody goes down, you can wait a game. And you can file it in the Rolodex. Okay, here's what the Celtics look like when Brogdon is out. All right, here's who gets the minutes. Does Derek White get the bump? Does Marcus Smart get the bump? Does it just get spread around? Does nobody get the bump? Great, we know that. Maybe you can act on it. Maybe he misses 3 ball games and we can act on it for the final 2. Maybe he only misses 1 and we just have to remember it for next time because with Brogdon, there will be a next time. Boy, how good did Jaden Ivey look in this one? Wow. Also quite impressive. Jalen Duren, he got 30 minutes. I mean, again, some of this was blowout stuff, so the minutes are a little screwball. Duren hasn't taken over the center spot. Isaiah Stewart is still the starter there. Duren's someone we've been talking about as, keep one eye on him all season long in case that power balance flips, but it hasn't yet. I think the bigger story, honestly, on that Detroit side is Cade, who's been hugely underwhelming so far this year. And there's a little back padding going on, yes, but I did yell at everybody that listened to my pod. He's going way too early. I think that was actually one of the position battles. Does anybody remember that when I was on Josh's pod, Josh Lloyd's pod? We argue Cade versus someone else at 30-something. I don't know. I was going to argue against the young guy, but there wasn't a way. You looked at his stats and you were like, how does this guy go from 90 to 30? He already had all the usage on the team. What was left to add? It was fixing things that you just can't. Brandon Ingram is the only player I can remember that fixed 3 categories in one offseason. And then most of those have actually come back down after that. He fixed his 3-pointers, his free throw stroke, and his defensive stats. So it's 4 categories all in one offseason, which was nuts. That was when he went from a 120 range guy to a 35 range dude. Guess what? Defensive stats have gone back away for him. It's still cool that he fixed 2 things, but nobody fixes 2, 3, 4 things at the same time. Whatever, you're hanging on to him. Would I buy low on Cade right now? I would, but you're just not going to get him for that cheap because somebody spent a big draft pick on him. It's too much to pay. Brooklyn smacked around the Knicks, which they do tend to do. The Knicks are weird these days. Tom Thibodeau is blaming their issues on Isaiah Hartenstein. You're holding on there. He was way too good early this season that somehow Mitchell Robinson went down and Tibbs is ooh, Jericho Sims, you're going to fix our issues. You're not picking up Jericho Sims. You're not dropping Isaiah Hartenstein. You are looking at the Knicks and wondering what the hell's going on but you're not doing those other things. Move on. Kevin Durant, triple-double, 29, 12, and 12. A steal, 2 blocks, a three-pointer. KD. Phew. Every time he plays and has a good game, my heart fills because he was the one. You guys all remember this. He was the one during draft season. I was like, if you can take Kevin Durant in the first round, I don't care where you get him outside of Jokic. Jokic is one. Try to get KD. And he was falling to 6 and 7 in some spots. Now, admittedly, Steph Curry, Shea, they're in front of him right now, a 9-cat. I still think Shea's got to fall back to earth at some point here. Like, can he keep up 3.4 defensive stats and 54% shooting? I don't know. Every game he does it, I'm like, well, all right, I guess he's still doing it. But whatever. Kevin Durant, huge winner so far. That's cool. Seth Curry, 23 points off the bench in 23 minutes. That's worth keeping an eye on. I would say you could add him just to see what happens, but that's hard for me to say after I already told you guys to probably add Mo Bamba, maybe add Drew Eubanks, hang on to Dennis Smith Jr., watch what's happening in Boston. Can we also create a spot for Seth Curry? Probably not. But we should at least keep track of it. Like, does he jump Joe Harris for the shooting guard spot? If he does, he becomes an ad because Seth Curry in, starters minutes is a top 60 range guy. 23 minutes off the bench, that's not a sustainable number for him, but we do need to keep track of it. Also, this is why we were afraid of Cam Thomas coming off the bench, because if other guys got warm, he just wasn't going to have the opportunity. Do we see Kyrie Irving by early next week? I don't actually know. And so all of this then changes again because KD got 19 shots. Kyrie would get 15 to 19 shots, and then all these other guys would be sort of scraping for 8 or 9. And at that point, maybe it doesn't even matter. Other than Royce O'Neal, who's literally doing everything right now. There's a weird lack of buy-in on Royce O'Neal across the fantasy landscape, and I don't fully understand it because he's number 63 and he's shooting 39% still. I don't know what that number's going to end at because we don't really have a big amount of data on what 3-point shooting Royce O'Neal is. Maybe he stays at 39%, but 10 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.8 blocks, 2.5 threes. That gets it done. Dude's getting it done. Utah wins again. This team is sick, man. Colin Sexton was terrible. You're hanging on there. I've had to take 2 different postures with Sexton that sort of they're kind of incongruous with one another, meaning during draft season, I didn't tell anybody to draft Colin Sexton because I don't really like his fantasy game. He's mostly scoring. Even in his best years in Cleveland, he was a 95 range guy. But if you did draft him and you were like, why is this dude playing 16 minutes? The advice was to hold. I think the advice is still to hold there if you have him. I have 9 leagues this year. I cut it down from 14 to 9. I have 1 Colin Sexton, and I'm holding. So if you want to do what I'm doing, I'm holding there. But largely what I'm doing is I tried not to have him to begin with. Kelly Olynyk, not foul trouble this time around. They just went to a different look. You saw more Malik Beasley, actually, as they went small. They sort of were daring Clint Capella to hurt them. And Capella, to his credit, had a pretty good ball game, but he's not an interior offensive force. If you're looking at it Walker Kessler got all those center minutes, he didn't, actually. He got a couple extra, yes, but mostly this was Utah going small. I think Markkanen and Vanderbilt were playing center in that one. So that is one of the fears with Olynyk. Still was okay in this ball game. You're still holding there, but monitor. I had some folks ask me if I'm dropping Jared Vanderbilt. No, I'm definitely not. He's been fine. I know he's been quieter, and that's what always happens with him because he's an energy guy. And so if the rebounds aren't coming his way in a particular ball game, his numbers are going to look a little lackluster. But I still think he's going to be good. Maybe temper the expectations. I had him as a 60 range guy after that early season run. It might be more 80 to 90. Either way, still good. Lauri Markkanen, awesome again. You're not adding Malik Beasley. Jordan Clarkson was solid. Yeah, That's all I really need to know from that ball game. Trae Young, by the way, not good so far this year. Has shot the ball horribly. High volume, 38%, which does make him a buy low. If somebody's freaking out, you could probably give up, I don't know. Maybe Paul George would get it done. I don't think he's going much higher than 20. I don't know if I'd even make that trade. 9-cat. I don't know that Trae actually gets in front of Paul George in 9-cat. Devin Booker, I would do. De'Aaron Fox. Those are ones that might make it happen. Maybe Dame. Those guys might end up pretty close to one another, actually. Well. Want to pause here and let you guys know to check out our buddies at thrivefantasy.com and the Thrive Fantasy app. And it occurs to me that I probably could have set this up on YouTube so that you could actually see the Thrive Fantasy tab. So I'm going to do that while I talk to you here, but we are going to do this quick little promo. Did that work? I think that worked. Yeah, there you go. There's the Thrive Fantasy website. Cool. Look at how nice that looks. Wow. Look at what Dan's able to do with the magic of live video. ThriveFantasy.com, the website. If you sign up now using promo code ETHOS, ETHOS, they'll give you a deposit match bonus up to $250, which is pretty awesome because, as I've said on this pod before, you basically just need to win a quarter of your plays to not lose money with that initial bump. And if you do any better than that, terrific. You're in the green or the black, whatever color you want to call it when you're up ducats. The other note on Thrive Fantasy and the Thrive Fantasy app is that it is props. It's not traditional DFS. Look, you can spin the wheel here and win some more stuff here when you log in. They give you 20 props to choose from on the card. It's overs and unders for key stud players. You pick if you think they're going to get to their number or not. Follow our DFS team, by the way, over at Sports Ethos. They can give you a nice head start on some of that stuff as well. Thrive Fantasy, prop up, and tell them Ethos sent you with our special note. That'll get it done. Okay, then you pull my ugly mug right back into the forefront here on YouTube. But, reminding everybody that's watching, please do click the like button on YouTube and subscribe to our page. I have pipe dreams of doing this show live every single day. It's probably not going to happen, but it is a dream of mine, and I will feel satisfied if I even get to part of that. So maybe I'll start doing them on Tuesdays and Thursdays with Brew, or, do it Tuesday, Wednesday myself, and Thursday with Brew, or something like that. I think we could have a lot of fun if this is like the behind-the-scenes part. You guys can watch me film it. We won't do questions every single day, but, sometimes when there's a few extra minutes, I'll throw questions in as well. And to those of you that are listening to the podcast after the fact, don't worry. Recorded show not going anywhere. I'll be doing that thing and probably until the day I die. But let me figure out the tech here to make sure you guys can see the box scores I'm working with again. There we go. Let us continue. Post sip of water here. With recorded pod, I don't actually tell anybody I'm sipping water typically, but we're doing it today. Tara Eason is a guy who's going to get a lot of attention after this one. He had 5 steals and just a pretty well-rounded line, frankly. He's going to get added fast because there's a lot of buzz around his name. He had a big preseason. So a lot of folks were adding him even before the season started, and then he really didn't do anything for a little while. But there's a lot to like. He rebounds well. The assists were completely out of the blue, so don't expect him to get 5 assists per ball game in 20 minutes. I mean, his previous 44 minutes, he had 2 assists. But the steals profile well. 1.4 steals in 18 minutes per game right now. The blocks are actually not terrible. He's at 0.6. That's not going to be a thing that blows the roof off the building. You can see if his game log, he had 1 block, 3 blocks, and then he went 2 weeks without one. So mostly I think you'd be looking at the steals side. The issue, as it is with a lot of young players, is can he shoot free throws or regular? And the answer is probably not, at least here at the beginning. He'll be a negative in those. If you pick him up, this is my warning, you will be wading through a lot of tough ball games. My personal advice is to wait. You can ignore it if you want. If you want to jump on the new thing, if you're in a keeper league, dynasty, stuff like that. Dynasty is probably already on a roster. Keeper league, I get it. Maybe you're rebuilding or you can just squat on him, and he's a guy that comes bursting forth towards the end of the year or even in next year. He's too far down the board in Houston. Alperen Şengün in front of him. Jalen Green in front of him. Jabari Smith, who played better yesterday, still wasn't great, in front of him. Kevin Porter Jr. in front of him. Eric Gordon in front of him. I know Eason got 15 shots. I know he went buck wild with usage in yesterday's game, but it is not his team, and they're not going to just let him grab control of it, while they're also basically trying to give their third overall pick the confidence to play, well, with conviction in an NBA game. You can still buy low on Jabari Smith Jr., which I believe you should. His stat profile is pretty good. January, like a lot of this stuff is going to happen in January. It's why you don't draft rookies. You can buy on them mid-season if you still want them. KJ Martin looked pretty good again here. The minutes fluctuate too much when that team is healthy. If they ever cleared out one slot in front of him, maybe it's Aaron Gordon needs to move, or, I mean, none of those other guys is going anywhere. So it would probably have to be Gordon. If that was what it took to get KJ, 27, 28 minutes a game, he'd be an immediate ad. Right now, he's more of a schedule streamer level guy, which, like, between 100 and 125, we call those guys schedule streamers, because if they have like 3 games in 4 nights, you drop them into a head-to-head team, but not so much on the Roto side. Precious Achiuwa turned an ankle on the Toronto half of this ledger, and somehow it didn't help Chris Boucher, who I know I've been pushing on you guys, and mea culpa, he's fallen out of the good graces again over there. I don't know what the hell happened. He looked terrific for like 4 or 5 games when Freddie VanVleet and then Siakam were down, but he got jumped by Thad Young in this one, and he got jumped by Koloko in a previous one, and jumped by Precious Achiuwa in another one, and they're just, Toronto's rotating through whatever guy can fit with the others. Otto Porter picked up a bunch of that time. I think you can move on from all of those Toronto bench players, including Achiuwa. And frankly, if any of them got the minutes, if Boucher got mid-20s in minutes, he'd be good enough. Porter needs more like high 20s, and his body can't take that. So for now, just start VanVleet, OG, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, call it a day, move on. Campaign, Superstream Day 1, a rousing success. And Mikal Bridges, just overall a rousing success. Bridges now, number 19 in 9 category leagues. Holy crap. Larry Markkinen, Brooke Lopez, and Mikal Bridges are 17, 18, and 19 in 9 category leagues right now. You could very easily have gotten those guys in the 7th, like 11th, and probably 5th or 6th rounds, respectively. Wow. Meanwhile, over on the Minnesota side, I was getting should I drop Jaden McDaniels questions prior to yesterday, so hopefully this quiets a lot of that down. This did create an opening if you want to buy on Karl Anthony Towns, who obviously went bigger when Rudy Gobert was down for a couple of days, but just overall, like, he's been okay. The problem, of course, with buying on Towns is that he's ranked 20th, but you're not going to be able to get him for someone else ranked 20th, because someone probably drafted him at 10 or 11 or 12, and they're going to expect something closer to that coming back. Now, if Towns sticks at 20 for another month, you could probably get him there. There's just not really going to be a time to buy low on him. There's going to be a time that comes when you can buy accurate, but not low. No truly interesting news out of the New Orleans side of that, really either side of this New Orleans-Chicago game. Herb is playing better. Figured he would once he got healthy. Zion, whatever you wanted out of him. McCollum had a terrible game, but he'll be fine. JV was better because no Larry Nance. That's a 1-to-1 correlation. He was losing time to Nance. There was no Nance. Trey Murphy, you can drop. There's not enough for him left. I figured that was going to be the case. I think it was wise of us to stash him on the bench for a game or two after the main guys got back, just to see, could he create a consistent pocket? And the answer is not really. If you have Larry Nance, I think you got to hang on to him. They really like going to him. JV was good in this ball game, and what would have happened if Nance was around, I don't know. But he's picking up a lot of that extra time. Like Willie Hernan-Gomez is not going to play in this one if Nance is around. JV is going to play probably 6-7 minutes less. And they love what Nance is bringing. But we figured once he hyperextended his knee, he wasn't going to be back in the next ball game. Just if you can, probably squat on Nance for a game or two and see how it goes when he comes back. On the other side, Patrick Williams had 4 blocks. I still don't really trust him unless someone is out. I'm starting to feel the same way about Io, who got off to a really nice start. But now that Levine is settling in and the Bulls don't have a back-to-back until mid-December, and Caruso, same story. It seems like the Bulls are Levine, DeRozan, and Vooch. When everybody's healthy, those guys are obviously starts, but it takes someone being out. And it's funny, like all it takes is Zach LaVine being out and 3 guys move ahead of the cut line. That's how much that usage matters. Or DeRozan, I would imagine. But for now, I think you can probably just go with the core 3. Memphis beat San Antonio, took some extra time to get there, which meant typically decent lines, although our good buddy Keldon Johnson had a very poor shooting game. Oh, well, it happens. What are you going to do? Literally 0 adjustments to any of our tracking numbers on either side of this ball game. None. No adjustments. Move on. Milwaukee rested everybody, and so they went to double overtime to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Brook Lopez enjoyed playing 46 minutes of basketball. He had 24 points, 13 boards, 5 blocks, and Brolo, as we already said, number 18. Javon Carter, huge winner here with no Giannis and no Drew Holiday. I would assume Giannis is back for their next ball game, so whatever we learned from this one, this is a file it away game again. However, on the Thunder side, Alexei Pokushevsky now deserves a pickup. For a long time, we were just sort of watching the Thunder to see would anybody actually kind of, quote unquote, be allowed to play normal minutes for more than one game in a row. And Poku seems to be that guy. Because if you go back to October 27th, he played 26 minutes against the Clippers, 24 in Dallas, 31 against Orlando, 28 against Denver. He missed a couple games with a shoulder issue, and then he came back here, and 39 in double overtime. It would have been more like 30 without the 2 extra periods. He needs to be rostered to see what happens. His field goal and free throw percent are going to be terrible. The hope is that he just doesn't get to the foul line, which basically he doesn't. But he hits 3-pointers, steals, blocks shots, rebounds, scores, can pass a little bit. There's enough good stuff there where you should add him and probably put him on your bench, because there's a very real chance that the Thunder's next ball game, they rest him because of double overtime, or they bring him off the bench and play him 12 minutes. Anything can happen. But I've seen enough now in the last 2 or 3 games to say it seems like they're going to give Poku a little bit of runway here. Let's see where it goes. That's as much as I want to go with that one. Hey, let's see if I can use this fun technology to do our next ad read. Can I do it? Am I smart enough to pull this thing off? Probably not. So let's see. If you're watching live, you're going to see windows disappear and reappear. And if you are listening to me on the recorded pod, you're just going to be like, Dan, hurry up and say whatever it is you're trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is that I would love it if you guys could give a holler to our buddies over at manscaped.com. I love the YouTube part because I can actually just show you the things I'm talking about here. The thing that my wife insists that everybody looks at is this one, the Shears, the Luxury Nail Kit 2.0. It's got tweezers. Here they are. I'm highlighting them with my mouse on the screen. A round point scissors, clippers, a nail file, and a leather case that's actually magnetized. The flap comes down. You know what? Look, here we go. If you're watching on YouTube, I've actually got it on my desk right in front of me. This is it. That's the Manscaped Shears. It flips open like this, and you got the devices right there inside. Pop! Magnetized closed. It's the best clipper that I've ever used, and it's not close. Because for a long time, I was using like a fishing line clipper on my nail, and that was a bad idea. But this has changed things. And look, it's $20 right now. You can get it for $16 using our promo code ETHOS20, which not only gets you 20% off, but also free shipping over at manscaped.com. They've also got all these other really cool stuff. The bestseller list here. These are the packages. Boxers, which they sent me. They're very smooth and nice. The full body grooming kit, the platinum package performance. Check it all out at manscaped.com. Promo code Ethos20. Don't leave, YouTube viewers. I'm coming back from the damn promo read. Don't worry, it's only a minute. Ethos20. 20% off free shipping over at manscaped.com. And remember, Ethos without a number is the promo code for our buddies over at Thrive Fantasy. Quickly now, let's get back into the boxes. We only have a couple games left to go. I want to bring that screen back over for you guys watching live. And there we go. Lakers. We finally got a game where LeBron looked like LeBron. 30 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals, 4 3-pointers, above 50% shooting from the field. He had made both of his free throws, and then he tweaked a groin in the final 5 minutes, missed 2 free throws, and left the ball game. I mean, you want to talk about a game spinning on its head like that. We're like, oh, great, LeBron looks like LeBron. And then, ouch, goofed the free throws, didn't even get to finish. He probably would have scored another 4 to 6 points. He almost definitely would have had an assist, a rebound in there. The fates. Lakers suck. That's another problem here. They're also weirdly not getting calls. LeBron got fouled about 9 times in that game, and 2 of them, I think, got whistled. He actually did look good. Now, if LeBron is out, you can probably start Russell Westbrook. Patrick Beverley might actually be startable while LeBron is out if he's going to miss it. He said he's hoping to play on Friday. I'll believe it when I see it because groin stuff is weird. My guess is LeBron misses like 3 or 4 games for this thing. Hopefully it's not longer than that. Let's just watch one. Because the last time when he sat that back-to-back out in Utah, I don't think that most of the main guys were back yet. But, you'll see more usage for AD. You'll see more usage for Russ. You'll see more for a guy like Lonnie Walker when he comes back. And possibly enough for Bev to make a difference. I don't think you need to make that plunge without actually seeing how it goes. Meanwhile, over on the Clipper side, it's the same 3 names, and I'm not expanding beyond that. Norman Powell, of course, got warm. I mean, everybody gets warm when they play the Lakers because that's like you get fat against that team right now. But it's Paul George, Marcus Morris, who's just been awesome so far this year, and Ivica Zubac. Easy. And the last game of the night, the Kings hung 127 on the Cavs. Nobody bothered to play any defense in this ball game. Cleveland turned it over too many times. That was the difference in the game. 18-9. Kings won the turnover battle, so they just had more possessions, and they turned it into points. Harrison Barnes was really good, but I'm not doing anything with it because he was just super efficient, so kick it off to the side. Kevin Huerter was a little better again. Great. Hang on to him. Keegan Murray was much better in this ball game. Still, I think you could probably buy low on him. He has a really bright future. I think this type of line is something you can expect from him. Maybe not as many 3-pointers, perhaps a couple extra rebounds, balance some of that stuff out. And Monk is probably the big story there, aside from continuing to try to buy low on Keegan Murray. Monk, 14 points, 5 assists, 27 minutes again. He's very much an ad if he wasn't already. I think after the last ball game, I did say go ahead and just kind of see what happens for a little bit. I feel confident enough to say that, when the Kings are playing teams where you got a good feel they're going to put up some points, I think you can get Monk in the mix. He's jumped over Davion Mitchell. It's not really close anymore. And he's getting that mid to high 20s on a team that just wants to run and fire. So, yeah, that's perfect for Monk. No notes on Cleveland. Darius Garland was awful. He'll be better in the next one. We might find out later he's like playing through something, but whatever. And as far as the recorded podcast goes, that's the end of the line. Here on the video side, I have... What do we got here? Well, I guess we got about 9 minutes or so to get some questions in. All right, so let me scroll all the way to the top. If you posted your question at the bottom, there's a chance it might not get there. But we're going to start at the top here, and I'll roll through them as fast as I can. By the way, over the course of this thing, I keep seeing more people kind of trickling in and watching the show. So hi, I'm going to close the box score window now so you guys don't have that taking up half your screen. I'm Dan Besbris. To those that are joining late, at Dan Besbris over here. I'm guessing those of you that did join late are probably not going to go back and watch the beginning of the show. If you want to, you can. But please do follow me on Twitter. This is a really big deal. I post things all day long as news breaks. We do our nightly recaps. We do what to watch for, things of that nature. Very busy on social media. Also, I guess it's over on this side for you guys. So I'll use this hand to point to it. Hit the like button. Please do. Thumbs up the video. Please. Please. thumbs up the video and subscribe to the Sports Ethos YouTube page because we've got a weekly NFL show on Sundays. We do this show every Thursday myself. Usually it's with the great Aaron Bruski. He's driving today. And I'm hoping to do more of these Fantasy NBA Today kind of live. This is what it looks like when Dan's taping the show type of stuff because I can throw those graphics on the screen pretty easily with StreamYard. It's a lot of fun. Subscribe so you don't miss those things. Might be a more fun way to do it. If a couple of you come over here instead of the recorded pod, it's okay. I'll forgive you. But don't worry, all these shows will typically go out on the recorded side as well. I just think there's a certain advantage. My God, my phone is going crazy to watching the video, and you can see this idiotic backdrop I have behind me. All right. Brooks started it off with, I believe in Poku's supremacy. Yeah, he was an ad. I don't know that you have to start him immediately, like I was just saying, but he does a lot of things well and a couple things very poorly. And so now we have to hope that the well outweighs the bad. Oh, yeah, I just said that before, but please, thumbs up, subscribe. Jaden McDaniels, Jared Vanderbilt, rest of season. Too consistent or underperforming, in my opinion. By the way, hope the kids are well and doing better now. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, kids are good. Those that didn't know, my younger one had hand, foot, and mouth last week, and it was not fun. But we're okay. This too shall pass, as they say. I like Vanderbilt more than McDaniels between the two. I think both of them probably make the grade for 9-cat leagues. Vanderbilt probably like 80 to 95 range. McDaniels maybe a little closer to 100. He might teeter just outside of 100. Like one big game, he bumps to 85, then he falls back to 110. Overall, I think they should both be on fantasy teams. And let me actually add on that thing as I take a sip of water here. That's the thing with guys ranked near 80 to 110 is they're not going to be that consistent. If they were consistent, they'd be 50. Almost is Kenny Martin Jr. worth a look for 12-teamers. Almost. He's been really good in the time he's been getting. The problem is that he doesn't consistently get high 20s. He consistently gets low 20s with a look at high 20s, typically when someone's out. We're like one little thing away from him being there. Is Vanderbilt a stronghold or is he a drop for someone with potential like Bamba? I would hold Vanderbilt over Bamba. Mo was someone that I picked up and I was dropping slow-mo, Kyle Anderson, because he was a stream for Rudy Gobert. If you're dropping somebody who actually is probably going to sit like 90 range, then you're dropping too much. Yeah, I mean, that's accurate. I'm not holding Grant Williams. I think he profiles more as like a very competitive 12-teamer type of guy. Typically plays, gets you some threes, good efficiency, but not going to pile up stats, 100 to 120 range per game. He probably beats that by totals. Christian Wood, I wanted nothing to do with this year. I have 0 Christian Woods on any teams anywhere. And I said it 1,000 times on the pod. So honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to tell you because I've not had to make this decision at all. You probably have to hang on to him because he's so volatile. He could have huge games, a couple in a row, but it was always going to be complicated this year. Pope, easy choice. He's crushing him. Top 55 versus top 150. It's not even close. Ooh, tough one. Jalen Smith will be healthier between the two. I think Nance probably beats him on a per-game basis. If you're going per game, it's Nance. Totals, it's probably Smith because Nance will have his, 3-week knee thing and then a 1-week back thing, and then hopefully he doesn't have an illness because we know he's got Crohn's. I think that tends to make things worse because he's going to be on immunosuppressants and all that type of stuff. I love Larry Nance. He's one of my high guys for multiple years in a row, but he always misses time. Jokic in 9-cat. Again, unless you're punting free throws, this isn't close. Giannis is number 29 right now because he has redefined what punt free throw means to this point. 12 free throws a game at 65%. This is like unheard of. This is Dwight Howard and Joker. Yeah, you're right. I have too many forwards and need guards. I got 4 minutes left, by the way. So if you guys are still posting questions, I'm probably not going to get to them. Who do I drop for a guard? Jalen Smith, Jabari Smith, Isaiah Jackson, Pokushevsky. It's probably Jalen Smith right now, unfortunately, or Poku. It's not Jabari. It's not Jackson. There's too much potential there. I'm over him. Ugh. Oh, wait, there's more to this one. Thank you, sir. Would you offer Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart for DeMar DeRozan? I would. Yeah, I think Brandon Ingram tends to get overdrafted because he doesn't get defensive stats anymore. So, yeah, I got no problem with that. Heading the previous question, Monk or KCP for Kelly Oubre? I'd rather trade away Malik Monk if I could get Oubre that cheap. Oh, sorry, flip it. KCP over Monk over Oubre is what I'm saying. I'd rather trade away Oubre for KCP. If that doesn't work, I would trade away Oubre for Monk. Because frankly, I think Oubre is a drop in non-points formats. I can't right now with Boucher. Nurse is trying everything. So if Chris comes in and has 4 good minutes to start his nightly shift, he's going to be awesome. But if he stinks for 4 minutes, he might not play again. So it's too tough for me. I can't use a games cap on him right now. 14-teamer. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot closer than 12. I don't know why everybody is so obsessed with Josh Green right now. I still haven't seen it. And if Christian Wood comes back, then I think it's probably a no. But if Wood misses some time, you could probably stream Green in 14-teamers. That's as far as I'm going with that one. He's like barely stream worthy. Yes. Campaign for sure. Eubanks, maybe. I talked about Eubanks much earlier in the show because they were one of the first box scores we went through. He didn't play down the stretch. He only got 22 minutes, put up a good line, but didn't play down the stretch. And that's a problem because that means that, there's a chance he might only get 22 minutes again in the next one. So campaign absolutely should have been picked up the second Chris Paul got hurt. But Eubanks is more like, I said 60-40 earlier in the show. Yeah, why not? Foot injury. He'll come back. He'll be okay. I think they'll probably try to do more through Embiid. But, yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be late first, probably, once he gets going again. I wouldn't worry. Yeah, I still don't really much care for Toronto's replacement players right now. Rozier and Wendell Carter Jr. for DeJounte Murray. Yes, go get DeJounte Murray if that works. Jalen Green rest of season. I don't know, somewhere between 70 and 140. He was going too early because he really is mostly just a shooter. His percentages were unsustainably high at the end of last year. He's going to be much better than he has been so far this season, but I don't think he's going to get to his ADP. So he's going to be a hard player to buy on, but he's one that you definitely need to hold if you have him. Ooh, that's a tough one. Clint Capella's contract is what this one means to me. How many more years he got on that thing? Let's look up Capella's contract. Yeah, Capella's got 2 more years on his contract. And, Atlanta might think about moving him, but they are better defensively when he's on the floor. I'll go Duren. I think he could jump Isaiah Stewart, who isn't that great, in a way where Capella, at least, he's proven himself to be, good for basketball. I would sit on Conley. I think Olynyk you could trade because he alternates kind of big games, small games. And, we saw yesterday Utah's willing to go small sometimes, but they're decent. And if they do blow it up, it won't be until probably the deadline because they're not going to be able to tank all the way to the bottom. They will take assets if somebody offers them for these guys. And if they play well enough, they will. So I would probably sit on Conley. I would see if I can get something for Olynyk, mostly because I just don't think Kelly is as trustworthy on a night-to-night basis. Let's go Duren. His minutes are higher right now. Sell or hold on Claxton. After a giant game you could sell, he's been really good. I'm actually okay with either of these. Kind of depends on what you can get back, obviously. If you can sell Claxton and get a top 50, 60 guy back, you do it. But if someone's like, I'll give you top 80, you're like, what? I'll screw it. I'll just ride this thing out and see what happens because he's been really good so far this year. And that is our lightning round. I got to put a pin in this one, everybody. I'm going to put this up at the end here once again. Remind anyone who's tuned in here at the very end, please do click the thumbs up, subscribe to our page. I want to try to do more of these like spur of the moment shows. Throw them up there, get a template graphic. Easy peasy. Again, at Dan Besbris on Twitter. Those of you listening, actually, this isn't even going to go out on the recorded side, but have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll do a look ahead over on social media at this guy here. So follow me on Twitter. We'll do the rest of it over there. So long for now.